Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "Beware of men, for they will hand you over to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues. And you will be led before governors and kings for my sake, as witnesses before them and the pagans. Then, when they hand you over, do not worry about how you are to speak or what you are to say. You will be given at that moment what you are to say. For it will not be you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will hand over brother to death, and father his child. Children will rise up against parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by all because of my name. But whoever endures to the end will be saved." The Gospel of the Lord. It is rather ironic that the Christmas season would have the celebration of a martyr who was horribly murdered by stoning. But if we consider ourselves part of the body of Christ, then we have to step up as well. His letter to the Corinthians, St. Paul says, "You are now Christ's body." In other words, what happens to Jesus is going to happen to us. In many cases, not so much the grueling task of becoming a martyr, but perhaps natural death. However, we are all going to die. It's the only way we can make an entrance into heaven. You are the body of Christ, and individually you are part of it. His letter to the Galatians, St. Paul says, "I live no longer I, but Christ lives in me." The me part of who I am is displaced by baptism in Jesus Christ, where Christ lives in me. And so, from the gospel, Jesus says, "Beware of men, for they will hand you over to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues." There's a reference to that insofar as how even fractioned the Catholic Church can be at times. People who are not pro-life are persecuted, and people who are pro-life are persecuted. Everybody is subject to it, I suppose. However, there is a righteous way for that, and we must not take life cheaply. You will be handed over in the synagogues, and you will be hated. And we see that even in the church today, a kind of a fraction. But yet, even more so hated are non-believers. Where I am, however, you also may be, Jesus says in the Gospel of John. And you know the way. It's the way to heaven. And I will take you to myself, even if it means the vehicle of martyrdom will carry you. Yesterday we celebrated the birth of Christ in time as our King, eternal King. Today we celebrate the triumph of one of the king's soldiers. If we die with Christ, we will rise with him. That's a promise. And I assure you that for all of us, on the backside of the cross, there's room for one other to hang with Jesus.
Regina Celi, let